early days for John Peel's BBC radio show. The band was formed by Smiths guitarist Johnny Marr, and together with lyricist Stephen Morrissey, they've become two of the most distinctive and prolific songwriters in Britain in recent years. Morrissey has the highest profile in the Smiths and consequently does most of the interviews. But for the next hour, you'll see a fascinating interview with Johnny Marr, where he's talking with Australian journalist Doug Adamson. You'll also see a selection of Smiths videos.
We've only been together a few years and we don't feel under any massive pressure to change with each LP, because we pretty much like the sound that we've got, you know. Instrumentation-wise, this album's a little bit more varied because I've been playing a little bit more keyboards, pianos and organs and things. But the songs are still miserable rock songs, thank God, which I'm really pleased about. So there's no sort of massive change. There isn't any sort of happy talks on this LP or anything. It's still pretty serious music.
Are you a serious person?
Me? Oh, yeah. What do you think?
In what way do you think the songwriting has progressed over the past few years for you?
Well, in the past, I kind of enjoyed... I'm trying to not make too little of some of the past songs, but I did kind of enjoy the idea of some disposability in pop music. Just from my side of it, from the musical side of things. And I like the idea of short, snappy, to the point pop songs. I still like songs to be quite to the point, and I do tend to like songs to say what they're going to say in 2.5 minutes. But having said that, I've tried to write with it a bit more sort of emotionally, rather than wanting to hear a great condensed pop song. Say, a la This Charming Man. The music's a little bit more serious now. I mean, it's not quite conceptual, but I'm trying to write with a little bit more sort of feeling, you know, rather than come up with a riff or come up with a tune that's a great pop tune. I've sort of discarded a lot of things because they didn't really have enough intensity one way or the other. You know, I'm getting away from things sounding pleasant and melodic as they did sound in the past. I'm trying to sound a little bit more discordant, guitar-wise and keyboards-wise anyway.
It seems that you're becoming more of the focus of the Smiths than perhaps Morrissey was, seeing as Morrissey doesn't seem to be having quite as high a profile. Are you happy to sort of take on that role as being a bit more of a front man?
Well, if this is happening, I don't know why it is. It's just an accidental thing. No, and to answer the question, I'm not really happy to take on the role of frontman. I don't think I am. I think Morrissey's the frontman. And if people want an angle on the co-writer or the guitarist or whatever, however people see me, then that's fair enough. But I'm not the Smiths frontman. I formed the group, but I'm not the frontman.
Haunted by the cold on a hillside desolate, will nature make a man of me yet? When in this charming car, this charming man, why cancel life's complexity when the leather runs smooth on the passenger seat? I would go out tonight, but I haven't got a stitch to wear. This man said it's gruesome that someone so handsome should care. A jammed-up country boy who never knew his place, he said, return the ring. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things. I would go out tonight, but I haven't got a stitch to wear. This man said it's gruesome that someone so handsome should care. a country boy who never knew his place. He said, return the ring. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things.
How's Morrissey changed since you've been together in the Smiths?
Not at all, really. I don't think he's changed that much at all. I think he's still, as we both are, as intense about what we're doing as we always were, which is good and bad. It's not particularly good for our personal lives, but it's good for our career, which is what our relationship's founded on, really. And so we're still pretty much single-minded and about our career and ambitious and all those things and intense about what we do. We do take the group very, very seriously in that respect. We're both as serious as each other. So I don't think Morrissey's changed really that much. And I don't really think success or public or fame is having an effect on him now. I think there was a period when it initially came that it did change him a little bit and he was getting used to things. But that's because he lives on his own mainly. And I think he went through a period of change when he had to adjust to sort of living in London and all this massive, because he got a lot of sort of fame thrown on him quite quickly. I'd rather him than me. I mean, because I saw it was quite difficult, but now that was just a short period of time when he was just sort of adjusting. Well, I suppose we all were. But he's back to normal now, whatever that is.
That's very hard to define, isn't it?
Oh, he's a sweetie. I'm glad he hasn't changed.
Do you argue much?
We do. We disagree. We don't really argue too much because at the end of the day, it's not really going to get us anywhere. We try to come to a decision pretty much. But, you know, we've always had a sort of an agreement, if you like, where we agree to differ, one of those kind of situations. And it's normally about things that are less important than... it's not the things that maybe you'd imagine, you know. It's not anything monumental. We don't argue about things or disagree about things that are really, really important, like the songs, for instance, or the way the LPs sound, you know. Those really important things. It's more sort of minor things that we disagree on. Maybe just dates or venues or... But things like, are we going to tour, are we not going to tour, we pretty much always feel the same on, because we do spend a lot of time together. So if we're both feeling particularly sort of like we need a break or we want to make a record, or alternatively we want to tour, we both normally feel those things at the same time. Same with the way the records progress and the way we move, sort of songwriting-wise.
It seems you're very prolific. I mean, there's hardly, you know, a couple of months goes by without something new coming out.
Well, I try not to think... I mean, people do mention that to us, but I try not to accept it too much, because if it's prolific by other people's standards, then that's their tough luck, really. If people only write 10 songs a year, I mean, I think that's basically it. I'm starting to see that people expect us to be in the norm, which is, what, 10 songs a year, 4 singles off that LP, which is never it's never the way we've done things. I don't regard ourselves as particularly prolific by our own standards, because it's what we've always done. It's what I do. I write. I don't think there's anything sort of particularly amazing about being able to write however many songs we write a year, 20, 25 songs. And apparently since The Queen is Dead, I'm not sure, since The Queen is Dead LP in this country, we've actually released, sort of, on record, 12 songs. And we haven't even had the second LP, the following LP out. So, by everybody else's standards, I suppose, that's quite prolific. In between one LP and another, because of singles and B-sides and extra tracks, we release a lot of new songs. But I don't think we're prolific, no.
Do you find it easy to write?
Yeah. That's why I don't think we're prolific. That's what I do.
Do you have to be in a certain kind of mood to write?
No, not really, no. I mean, to get back to what I was saying before, that's why, I mean, I can always write and find an angle on writing a song every day. But with this LP, even though it's been just as natural for me to write, write stuff, I have tried to write with a bit more sort of direct kind of emotion. I mean, that's to say some of the songs are quite brutal. Not in the sense that some of the old songs like Miserable Lie or What She Said, which were quite stompy and thrashy, are quite brutal in a sort of in melodic sense. Trying to get a little bit more discordant, and because I think probably as a fan and as a listener of music, I'm just really bored of commerciality. In a word, commerciality. You know, at the moment it seems to be really safe, and commerciality seems to mean non-progression and blandness. Whereas when we first started, we felt like commerciality was something that was really, really good and something not to be sneered on. And I think we proved that we could merge both sort of interesting ideas with an accessible sound with the old songs. But I'm getting less and less interested in that. Maybe it might be to the detriment of our record sales, but it's no good just churning out songs that are going to appear on the charts. I mean, I'd rather sort of sell much less records and make much more interesting music. Probably all musicians are probably playing the same, but whether they actually do it or not is debatable.
When Panic came out, a lot of radio people were fairly shocked, you know, the hang the DJ line.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy upsetting people?
I do when we agree with the principle and they disagree with the principle, when there's a certain principle at stake. Yeah, I don't agree with controversy just for controversy's sake. I mean, I think everybody can see through that, and everybody can spot a fake a mile away. That's why we can do things such as a radical statement like "Hang the DJ" in a single, and it can be successful because it wasn't just as with all the lyrics. It's no sort of quick stab at controversy. And to be honest, and probably naively, we just made the record and decided it'd be a good single and put it out. And you know, the label said, "Well, do you expect this to be played?" And it was around, you know, when we first came out, and we suddenly realised that maybe it might not be. You know, I mean, that's probably massive naivety, but it's all sort of fun. It's only music, you know.
Has there been any constructive criticism of the Smiths?
What I've taken notice of? Oh yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, not so much in. Although I suppose there has been in reviews and stuff. I try not to take too much notice of them, even the good ones. The constructive criticism that I've noticed has probably been from people around the group. There aren't too many people around the group, but the ones who are there, we sort of take notice of. And I'm trying to think what we've actually acted on. The answer is, yeah, there's been tons of constructive criticism, but, you know, we don't take any notice of it, I suppose, because I'm trying to really think of anything that's been said that we've actually acted on and has had an effect. I don't think so. I mean, we criticise ourselves enough, you know, more than enough. If we're, you know, if we're in a position to look back on things and mistakes that we've made, it be in business, and we know of all the mistakes we've made. We've made a lot of mistakes in business, but we've done a lot of things that we've had to do that people have really disagreed with. So we're pretty much on our own case, really, in every single department. We're pretty self-critical, not to the point of castrating ourselves, but we're pretty down on ourselves when we don't really come up with the goods one way or another.
Were you ripped off when you first started at all?
No. There's a bloke called Alan Wise in Manchester who owes everybody money, who still owes the Smiths some money, but I mean, that's just part of the course when you come from Manchester. No, I've never personally really been ripped off, no, I don't think so. I mean, I've entered into a few dodgy contracts, which I'm walking out of in about 2 weeks.
Right. Is playing live, you know, something of a release for you, or is it more sort of a necessary chore that you have to do?
No, it's a necessary joy. I could never really see it as a chore. The touring bits and, you know, ups and downs they're a chore. But playing live isn't a chore either. It's always a real joy, and you know, we're fairly typical in that we want to make each tour and each show specifically, but each sort of tour better than the last one, and we want to be a more exciting live group. And we've always had a really amazing kind of bond with the audience, which, again, you know, most musicians probably would like to claim, but probably in their hearts know that they don't have it. I mean, I go to all sorts of gigs. I like to go and see shows, and it's something that I've noticed since going out to see the Racks that they don't have that we have. It's kind of, it's almost like a football match. Everybody's really kind of gregarious and outrageous, and people don't just stand there taking us as seriously as people might expect. So we absolutely, it really is like a party, you know. I mean, we're not just, you know, we're not the faces, but being out in front of the audience, it is like a party.
Every tooth in your head. Oh, sweetness, sweetness, I was only joking when I said by rights you should be bludgeoned in your head. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt. As the flames rose to a Roman nose and her Walkman started to melt. Again, I've got no right to take my place with the human race. Oh, 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 big mouth, oh, da-da. Big mouth, da-da. Big mouth strikes again. I've got no right to take my place with the human race. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt. As the flames rose to a Roman nose and the hearing aid started to melt. Big mouth, da-da-da. Big mouth, da-da-da. Big mouth strikes again. I've got no right to take my place with the human race. Oh, 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 big mouth, ha-ha. Big mouth, da-da-da. Big mouth strikes again. I've got no right to take my place with the human race. Oh, 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 big mouth, ha-ha. Big mouth, ha-ha. Big mouth strikes again. I've got no right to take my place with the human race. Oh, 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 big mouth.
Johnny, do you have any yardstick by which you measure your success?
No, I don't think. I don't think that's really possible in the 80s. I don't think it's possible for us anyway, because things are happening to us that haven't happened to other groups before.
Like what?
Well, I can't really find any groups to measure our success, because they're successful for completely different things that we're successful for. Because certainly in this country, a lot of the things that cause upset, things that are just very un-rock and roll, and we're we're successful and known in this country. We're known partly for being sort of maybe a little bit odd, but that's because we do things that are really on rock and roll and pretty straight, really, I suppose. You know, I mean, say for instance with Morrissey, you know, everybody thinks it's so odd. You know what? He should be sort of out ranting, and people find it really so odd that he's normal. You know, I mean that he's well, normal as in sort of doesn't go out clubbing out of the limelight and doesn't leg around with the rock stars and all that kind of stuff. And because there aren't any other groups in the past who we've had the same kind of personal things in common with. You know, they've all been sort of pretty much mad hedonistic crazies who've got really successful. I mean, maybe, you know, the big groups now, modern groups aren't that way. You know, say the Mayans or U2. You know, I don't want to sort of lump them in with the old hellish rock and rollers, but I don't think we're that kind of group either. We're not part of the new big, say, yuppie kind of group, for want of another term. We're really into making bread and making mountainous sounds. I mean, fair play to them, that's all right, but we're not that kind of group. So, I mean, obviously there have been tons and tons of groups who are successful in the same way and bigger and all those things. We're not that massive, but there haven't been that many groups with such an important non-rock and roll doctrine running through them. So we are different to other groups who have happened in the past. Because playing in the groups we feel sort of kinship with in the past haven't been in the sort of successful position that we've been in. Individually, the members of the groups haven't made money and haven't been under kind of microscopic scrutiny, certainly in this country, that Morrissey and myself have sort of fallen prey to. So it's an odd thing, really. And it's a new thing, so there isn't any kind of real yardstick we can measure ourselves against, no.
You've mentioned the words like doctrine and philosophy a couple of times. Is there like a Smiths manifesto that you and Morrissey have got?
That's the word I was looking for, actually. Yeah, there is, but I mean, I know I've mentioned it a few times, but only because I've realised it appears very strongly to the outside world and to the public. You know, it's not something that we want to hammer down or have hammered down people's throats that we have a doctrine or anything like that. It's just that over the last few years it's become obvious that we do, and that it's something that we should really hang on to. And you know, it's just things like trying to bring a new realistic element to a ridiculous business, really, an absolutely ridiculous business. Because you know, I keep bringing up the term rock and roll, but we've had to deal with it sometime because we do have all sort of the essential elements, but our doctrine is that all the naff and the hideous things that have happened as a consequence of rock and roll and all the things that are supposed to be accepted within this music business, we don't want to involve that in the group at all, you know. Limos are okay, I suppose, now and again. Long hair, drugs, baggy trousers, drum solos, concept LPs. The normal things that are just current rock and roll that people take for granted are hideous. Instrumental mixes on B-sides of singles. Ridiculous tours, massive crappy venues, bad merchandising to the audience. All these kind of really horrible old stale things that mean nothing to young people in the 80s, in any country, you know, in East or West or anything, you know. No one really gives a shit about leather trousers anymore, except, you know, people who are trying to, you know, people who are hung up on Velvet Underground LPs and stuff. That's all very boring, but, you know, it's sort of come to a head over the last few years in this country with groups sort of just playing out this kind of rock and roll facade. And, I mean, we're completely different, you know, completely different.
Did you come to some kind of dilemma when Andy's drug problem became apparent?
Yeah, about 4 years ago, before the group. I mean, I've never had a dilemma within the Smiths because of Andy's drug problem. And none of us have really come up against some kind of, oh my God, shock. Because it's something that I personally have had to deal with a long time, and Andy's had to deal with, obviously, but the other group members, Morrissey included, and handled it really well.
And it's all sorted out now?
Yeah, oh yes, it's sorted out. Yeah, Andy's playing on the LP, he's clean and he's healthy. And it has been for a long time. It's just that he was busted probably about a year ago, and it's only just come to light now. I mean, all this is really history for us. I can understand people being intrigued, but it is really history.
we have been through hell and high tide. I think I can rely on you. And yet you start to recoil. Heavy words are so lightly thrown, but still I leap in front of a flying bullet for you. So what difference does it make? So what difference does it make? It makes none, but now you have gone, and you must be looking very old tonight. The devil will find work for idle hands to do. I stole and I lied, and why? Because you asked me to. But now you make me feel so ashamed, because I've only got two hands. But I'm still fond of you. So what difference does it make? Oh, what difference does it make? Oh, it makes none, but now you have gone, and your prejudice won't keep you from tonight. Oh, the devil will find work for idle hands to do. I stole and then I lied just because you asked me to. But now you know the truth about me, you won't see me anymore. Well, I'm still fond of you. Oh, but no more apologies. No more apologies. Oh, I'm too tired, I'm so sick and tired, and I'm feeling very sick and ill today, but I'm still fond of you. Oh.
How were you affected by punk?
Oh, unfortunately, yeah, I was just sort of born a little bit too late, because it happened at the time when I was really starting to take my playing seriously. And just as I was learning how to play all these intricate patterns and chords and everything, the norm, you know, all these kids came out after playing trash. And so I missed the, initially I missed the point and the beauty of it, really, because I was personally just getting into actually being able to play, and the whole idea was not being able to play. But, you know, after a year or so, I found things that really, really interested me in the punk movement. I mean, there was a lot of good things out of it, most notably Patti Smith, and Stooges, groups like that. I mean, I was one of those people who didn't get into the Stooges until punk. You know, I don't claim to have liked the Stooges in 1973, mainly because I was only 10, you know. So, but in all honesty, I did think that I kind of prided myself on hating those groups. I mean, I really did think a lot of those groups were crap. Because, I mean, I was, you know, probably 14, 13, 14, and all my friends, well, kids in school were getting seriously into buying records, and I thought the Jam were crap. I thought the Clash was shit. I thought, and I still to this day think all those groups are crap. I mean, they all sort of grabbed the shadow of groups like the Rolling Stones, when at the same time were completely hypocritical in that. That was the very thing that they were supposed to be knocking down. When really what all those groups, Joe Strummer and even the Wellers, and what all those groups really wanted to do was be backstage at Earl's Court, you know, with tons and tons of food. They just wanted to do exactly what the groups they were supposed to be knocking down did. And basically, the records were crap. I mean, all this is all sort of hot air at the end of the day when you actually put the record on. That's what matters. I mean, the whole idea with punk is what happened there is, I think one of the main things that happened in punk was that it was great that old idiot musicians who had gone completely over the top were sort of ousted. The Rod Stewarts of this world were ousted and done with forever. But it also, what happened is it gave the record companies and the people in the business the license to treat bands like shit and treat musicians like they were idiots. And the musicians, of course, just lapped this up and accepted it. Now, I mean, I'm not trying to herald the change back again where everybody acts like Emerson, Lake and Palmer towards the record companies or whatever. You know, I don't think that young people, just because they're young and they've got some kind of talent, should be treated as gods. But at the same time, I don't think the businessmen in the English music business anyway should be given license to treat musicians like dogs, which punk did pretty much. I mean, the punk groups really gave us new bands a sort of a lot to deal with, because all the bands that came as a consequence have to deal with A&R guys and people in the business who just think musicians just like to, you know, sort of are punks and like to throw up and, you know, here's 100 quid and go buy yourself some glue or whatever, you know. So I think it did a lot. It did a lot more harm than the bands actually realise. And again, you know, music was rubbish. I've got a lot of punk singles that were great, but I mean, so many came out. It's not very good, you know, to say, you know, you like 25 or so records over a 4-year period when millions and millions were released.
How important do you think the Smiths image is? Is it important to you?
Oh, yeah. Not in the sense of, you know, the way we have our haircut or the clothes we wear. Not image in that sense, just, again, you know, our image, I think, encompasses that whole kind of manifesto thing and doctrine. And I think our image is crucially important. You just take a look at the new LP. I mean, I think the World Won't Listen's a really, really good, strong LP sleeve. I think it's one of the strongest for a long time, as was the Elvis Presley Shoplifter sleeve. But the World Won't Listen sleeve, I think, is really, really good because our audience, you know, people who want to buy the record, they buy it, and the sleeve is trying to sort of depict them, really. I mean, not that we regard all our audiences all wearing leather jackets and having either bouffants or quiffs or anything. It's much more important than that. It's just we do try and identify ourselves to our audience as young, living in the 80s. I mean, we are young and we do live very much in the 80s. That's why we don't want to be painted as just a rock and roll band with all the traditions of the other rock and roll groups, because there's something that special and extra that you need in the 80s that audience require from the group. I wouldn't want to go out, if I wasn't in a group, I wouldn't want to go out and see a group and, you know, just see them come on and do the old leather pants strip or the light strip and the backdrop and the usual kind of palaver. I mean, our image is that we try to portray that we live in the real world and that what are things that are important to us individually are the same kind of things that are important to the audience. You know, it's not jet setting or drugs or buying houses or anything specifically like that.
You've dabbled very slightly in video. I mean, is the video side of thing going to become more important to you, the Smiths, or not?
No, I think it's a necessary bind, the video, because I wouldn't see it like that if we got into it by choice, or if any groups had got into it by choice. It'd be an artistic avenue and it'd be an outlet. But it seems, I mean, we're different to other groups, but it seems like if you've got a deal, you've got no. If you want to put a record out, you really literally have no choice, which I'm sure. Well, it isn't what I bargained for. It isn't what I wanted when I became a musician. I didn't sort of. I didn't expect that in order to get our music heard that we'd have to make a video, because you have to compete with everybody else, as you know. But that's just it's just one of the unfortunate things about being in a group in the 80s and trying to get exposure.
You mentioned competing in there. Do you think that the Smiths are a competitive group?
Yeah, in all honesty, I have to say we are, yeah. Competitive in that, not in that we ever feel. I wish we did feel a little bit more inspired and a little bit more threatened by records that come out. I think that'd be a really, really healthy scene. I think that's where the 80s kind of falls down. But having said that, it's competitive in that we do feel that we've got an obligation to sort of not rest on our laurels in the same way as the other groups do. I mean, when if competition comes into it, it's only because we feel that we're winning, if there is any kind of competition. And it'd be nice, you know, if some groups came out with some ideas or some angles or something that really impressed us and had some influence over us. That'd be nice, and it wouldn't be something that I'd hide. That'd be a really good thing for music, I think.
So once the album's finished, what's the plan for the rest of 1987?
Don't know when I'm supposed to divulge it. I think we want to make some more records and not do anything except make more records, which is going to get a resounding sigh from the audience, from our audience, which is a shame. You know, people obviously want us to say we're going to tour, even the labels and stuff. But well, we're not going to be touring England, though. We're not going to be touring Australia. I mean, maybe we'll just do some European gigs, and maybe we'll do some American gigs. But we'll only have time to do that, and that alone if we want to stick to what we really want to do, and that's make some more records this year. I know that seems a bit ludicrous, but I think that's the fault of the business rather than the fault of the Smiths.
Why is it the fault of the business?
Well, because you're not expected to put out 2 LPs a year, you're not expected to put out more than 4. And it's not a question you're not expected, and people can't really handle that. I mean, part of our... one problem we have with this, and again I think it's the fault of the business, is that when we put out records, we put out so many singles that it sometimes goes against us because it's another Smith single. When in fact, I think that's something that we try to champion all along, and something that we're determined to stick with. That and people just think it's the wrong thing to do over here. I mean, in the business, people think it's the wrong thing to do. People around us think it's the wrong thing to do. But also, the probably record buying public feel this sort of, oh, not another Smith single kind of thing. I think that's good. I think if the public were used to big groups releasing new singles regularly that weren't on LPs, then there wouldn't be this kind of oddity in us releasing so many records. Because it is a bit of a problem for us. It is a bit of a problem. Because we just want to put out more records, but we're told we have to wait. This is why I was a bit uncertain about the LP date. Because our answer would be right away. As soon as we finish, we want to put this LP out. But the compilation LP is doing really well, and all those kind of business things come into it. So at times, you know, feel pretty much that, not that we're in the wrong game, but just that we're made to feel like we're doing things the wrong way around, but we're determined to stick with our principles. That
doesn't it get frustrating?
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating, yeah. But again, you know, you have to really stick with your principle, the principle that you're right and the business is wrong. I mean, it just seemed ludicrous for it to be, for a group who release, 4 singles a year that don't come off the 1 LP that they're promoting. That is a problem for us. Indicates something really wrong with the way people expect groups to perform and produce. You know.
So do you think we are likely to see the Smiths in Australia once this next record is finished?
No, to be honest, I don't think so. I'd like to say yes. I mean, we'd like to go over. We do want to play, but I think it's unlikely.
What kind of impression have you got of the place?
Very good, because a few of my friends have played over there. Well, virtually all my friends. I mean, we're the only group I know who haven't been over there. Same with Japan.
Don't you feel guilty?
Yes, we do. Yeah, I feel like we'd like to do it ourselves, but it really has been a question of not priorities at all, but other things coming into play. Normally, sort of making records in England, because it is, it does take that is like a 10-week period, which is really short, I suppose, from most group standards. But you've got to write and all those things, and then by the time that's finished, and the idea of Japan or Australia, it's always Japan, Australia, and Europe seem to get left behind somewhere. But I've got a lot of my friends have played over there. I know my stuff about it. I'm looking forward to going over. Yeah.
So.